Matthew chapter 16. Jesus is asked for a miraculous sign. The Pharisees and the Sadducees came to put Jesus to the test. They asked him to show them a miraculous sign from heaven. He replied, "In the evening you look at the sky. You say, 'It will be good weather.' The sky is red. And in the morning you say, 'Today it will be stormy. The sky is red and cloudy.' You know the meaning of what you see in the sky, but you can't understand the signs of what is happening right now. An evil and unfaithful people look for a miraculous sign, but none will be given to them except the sign of Jonah." Then Jesus left them and went away. The East of Pharisees and the Sadducees. The disciples crossed over to the other side of the lake. They had forgotten to take bread. "Be careful," Jesus said to them. "Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." The disciples talked about this among themselves. They said, "He must be saying this because we didn't bring any bread." Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, "Your faith is so small. Why are you talking to each other about having no bread? Don't you understand yet? Don't you remember the five loaves for 5,000? Don't you remember how many baskets of pieces you gathered? Don't you remember the 7 loaves for the 4,000? Don't you remember how many baskets of pieces you gathered? How can you possibly not understand? I wasn't talking to you about bread, but watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees." Then the disciples understood that Jesus was not telling to watch out for the yeast used in bread. He was warning them against what the Pharisees and Sadducees taught. Peter says that Jesus is the Christ. Jesus went to the area of Caesarea Philippi. There he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah. Still others say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ. You are the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah. No more man showed this to you. My Father in heaven showed it to you. Here is what I tell you. You are Peter. On this rock I will build my church. The gates of hell will not be strong enough to destroy it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. What you lock on earth will be locked in heaven. What you unlock on earth will be unlocked in heaven." Then Jesus warned his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ. Jesus tells about his coming death. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples what would happen to him. He told them he must go to Jerusalem. There he must suffer many things from the elders, the chief priests, and the teacher of the law. He must be killed, and on the third day he rise to life again. Peter took Jesus to one side and began to scold him. "Never, Lord," he said. "This will never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are standing in my way. You do not have in mind the things of God. Instead, you are thinking about human things." Then Jesus spoke to his disciples. He said, "If anyone wants to follow me, he must say no to himself. He must pick up his cross and follow me. If he wants to save his life, he will lose it. But if he loses his life for me, he will find it. What good is it if someone gains the whole world but loses his soul? Or what can anyone trade for his soul? The Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory. His angels will come with him, and he will reward everyone in keeping with what they have done. What I am about to tell you is true. Some who are standing here will not die before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Matthew chapter 17. Jesus' appearance has changed. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, with him. He led them up a high mountain. They were all alone. There in front of them his appearance changed. His face shone like the sun. His clothes became as white as the light. Just then, Moses and Elijah appeared in front of them. Moses and Elijah were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters. One will be for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While Peter was still speaking, a bright cloud surrounded them. A voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, and I love him. I am very pleased with him. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they were terrified. They fell with their faces to the ground. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. They came down the mountain. On the way down, Jesus told them what to do. "Don't tell anyone what you have seen," he said. "Wait until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciples asked him, "Why do the teachers of the law say that Elijah has to come first?" Jesus replied, "That's right. Elijah is supposed to come and make all things new again. But I tell you, Elijah has already come. People didn't recognize him. They have done to him everything they wanted to do. In the same way, they are going to make the Son of Man suffer." Then the disciples understood that Jesus was talking to them about John the Baptist. Jesus heals a boy who had a demon. When they came near the crowd, a man approached Jesus. He got on his knees in front of him. "Lord," he said, "have mercy on my son. He shakes wildly and suffers a great deal. He often falls into the fire or into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him. You unbelieving and evil people, how long do I have to stay with you? How long do I have to put up with you? Bring the boy here to me." Jesus ordered the demon to leave the boy, and it came out of him. He was healed at that very moment. Then the disciples came to Jesus in private. They asked, "Why cannot we drive out the demon?" He replied, "Because your faith is much too small. But I'm about to tell you the truth. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, it is enough. You can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will be moved. Nothing will be impossible for you." They came together in Galilee. Then Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is going to be handed over to men. They will kill him. On the 3rd day he will rise from the dead." Then the disciples were filled with deep sadness. Jesus pays the temple tax. Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum. There the tax collectors came to Peter. They asked him, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," he replied. When Peter came into the house, Jesus spoke first. "What do you think, Simon? Who do the kings of the earth collect taxes and fees from? Do they collect from their own sons or from others?" "From others," people answered. "Then the sons don't have to pay." Jesus said to him, "But we don't want to make them angry. So go to the lake and throw out your fishing line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth. There you will find the exact coin you need. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours." Matthew chapter 18. Who is the most important person in the kingdom? At that time, the disciples came to Jesus. They asked him, "Who is the most important person in the kingdom of heaven?" Jesus called the little child over to him. He had the child stand among them. Jesus said, What I'm about to tell you is true. You need to change and become like little children. If you don't, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Anyone who became as free as pride as this child is the most important in the kingdom of heaven. Anyone who welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. But what if someone leads one of these little ones to believe in me to sin? If he does, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and be drowned at the bottom of the sea. How terrible it will be for the world because of the things that lead people to sin. Things like that must come. But how terrible for those who cause them. If your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It would be better for you to enter the kingdom of heaven with only one hand or one foot than to go in hell with 2 hands and 2 feet. In hell the fire burns forever. And your eye causes you to sin, poke it out and throw it away. It would be better for you to enter the kingdom of heaven with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into fire of hell. The story of the lost sheep. See that you don't look down on one of these little ones. Here is what I tell you. There are angels in heaven can go at any time to see my Father who is in heaven. What do you think? Suppose a man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away. Won't he leave the 99 sheep on the hills? Won't he go and look for the one that wandered off? What I'm about to tell you is true. If he finds that sheep, he is happier about the one than about the 99 that didn't wander off. It is the same with your Father in heaven. He does not want any of these little ones to be lost. When someone sins against you, if your brother sins against you, go to him. Tell him what he did wrong. Keep it between the two of you. If he listens to you, you have won him back. But what if he won't listen to you? Then take one or two others with you. Scripture says, every matter must be proved by the words of 2 or 3 witnesses. Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 15. But what if he also refuses to listen to the witness and tell it to the church? And what if he refuses to listen even to the church? Then don't treat him as your brother. Treat him as you would treat an ungodly person or a tax collector. What I'm about to tell you is true. What you can lock on earth will be locked in heaven. What you unlocked on earth will be unlocked in heaven. Again, here's what I tell you. Suppose 2 of you on earth agree about anything you ask for. My Father in heaven will do it for you. Where 2 or 3 people meet together in my name, I am there with them. The servant who had no mercy. Peter came to Jesus. He asked, Lord, how many times should I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to collect all the money his servants owed him. As the king began to do it, a man who owed him millions of dollars was brought to him. The man was not able to pay, so his master gave an order. The man, his wife, his children, and all he owned had to be sold to pay back what he owed. The servant fell on his knees in front of him. Give me time, I'll pay everything back. The master felt sorry for him. He forgave him what he owed and let him go. But then that servant went out and found one of the other servants who owed him a few dollars. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he said. The other servant fell on his knees. Give me time, he begged. I'll pay you back. But the first servant refused. Instead, he went and had the man thrown into prison. The man would be held there until he could pay back what he owed. The other servants saw what had happened. It troubled them greatly. They went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the first servant in. You evil servant, he said. I forgave you all that you owed me because you begged to me. Shouldn't you have had mercy on the other servant just as I had mercy on you? In anger, his master turned him over to the jailers. He would be punished until he paid back everything he owed. This is how my Father in heaven will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother from your heart. Matthew chapter 19. Jesus teaches about divorce. When Jesus finished saying these things, he left Galilee. He went into the area of Judea on the other side of the Jordan River. Large crowds followed him. He healed them there. Some Pharisees came to put him to the test. They asked, Does the law allow a man to divorce his wife for any reason at all? Jesus replied, Haven't you read that in the beginning the Creator made them male and female? Genesis chapter 1 verse 27. He said, That's why a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. The two will become one. Genesis chapter 2 verse 24. There are no longer two but one. So a man must not separate what God had joined together. they asked. Then why did Moses command that a man can give his wife a letter of divorce and send her away? Jesus replied, Moses let you divorce your wives because you were stubborn, but it was not this way from the beginning. Here is what I tell you. Anyone who divorces his wife and gets married to another woman commits adultery. A man may divorce his wife only if she has not been faithful to him. The disciples said to him, If that's the way it is between a husband and a wife, it is better not to get married. Jesus replied, Not everyone can accept the idea of staying single. Only those who have been helped to live without getting married can accept it. Some men are not able to have children because they were born that way. Some have been made that way by other people. Others have made themselves that way in order to serve the kingdom of heaven. The one who can accept living that way should do it. Little children are brought to Jesus. Some people brought little children to Jesus. They wanted him to place his hands on the children and pray for them, but the disciples told the people to stop. Jesus said, Let the little children come to me. Don't keep them away. The kingdom of heaven belongs to people like them. Jesus placed his hands on them. Then he went on from there. Jesus and the rich young man. A man came up to Jesus. He asked, Teacher, what good thing must I receive eternal life? What do you ask me what is good? Jesus replied, There is only one who is good. If you want to enter the kingdom, obey the commandments. Which ones? The man asked. Jesus said, Do not commit murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not give false witness. Honor your father and mother. Exodus chapter 20. Verse 12 to 16, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 16 to 20, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. I have obeyed all those commandments, the young man said. What else do I need to do? Jesus answered, If you want to be perfect, go and sell everything you have. Give the money to those who are poor. You will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. When the young man heard this, he went away sad. He was very rich. Then Jesus said to his disciples, What I am about to tell you is true. It is hard for rich people to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, I tell you, it is hard for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, but it is even harder for the rich to enter God's kingdom. When the disciples heard this, they were really amazed. They asked, Then who can be saved? Jesus looked at them and said, With man that is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Peter answered him, We have left everything to follow you. What reward will be given to us? What I'm about to tell you is true. Jesus said to them, When all things are made new, the Son of Man will sit on his glorious throne. Then you have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones. You will judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Everyone who has left houses or families or fields because of me will receive 100 times as much. They will also receive eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be perfect.